Hi everybody, it's Matt Siddell, and today I'm joined by Oliver Lowrie, one half of the architect practice Ackroyd Lowrie, and today we're going to be talking about how they are pioneering and using tech to improve efficiency whilst we're in the lockdown, particularly with a view to planning and construction and sales. Welcome to the show, Ollie.
Thanks, Matt.
How you doing? All good?
Yeah, well, as good as can be, I think, in these challenging times.
Are you winning?
We're winning on certain things, definitely. Losing on others, but, I would say we're 70%.
I think the key right now is as long as you're losing less than others, you're winning.
That is true, and that was definitely one that coming into it, I think, our initial, there's initial shock, and obviously, the situation is pretty shit for everyone, but I think we were in a position where it's significantly less shit for us than a lot of others. A lot of the technology that I want to talk about today is stuff that we've been developing anyway, which I think, similar to you in Tropolis, it was convenient. It was timing that meant you were in a better position than others because you were sort of leaning towards stuff that was online in any case.
I think in many ways it's just sped up a load of improvements for certain people, definitely for you guys because you're forward thinking anyway.
Yeah, so I think we were some of the stuff that we brought in the week before lockdown was an accelerated thing that we've been talking about for 5 years, and we suddenly did in a week. So, for example, multi-user virtual reality from different remote locations. We can now have a design team meeting with an engineer, a client, a planner. We can sit in our house. We can send you a headset. You sit in your house, and we can all meet up in the building. Me and John have been talking about that since basically the day that we founded the practice, and we've got into tech.
It's the future, right?
Finally solved it.
Great. All right, so where do you want to start? I mean, you've got quite a lot that you want to talk us through, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think generally, a bit of background about Ackroyd Lowrie. So we're architects based in East London, specialising in regeneration projects. The smallest thing we're working on is maybe 3-4 units. The largest is 300-400 units. So it's often resi-led. It's always where there's a kind of growth area. So lots of stuff in East London, lots of regen-led schemes, and always with a kind of trying to give people a technological advantage. So, we see ourselves as entrepreneurs first and kind of architects second almost. And so I think, this is just what I want to talk about today is there's obviously a whole series of new challenges that have been presented to us. And what we want to say is we've kind of tried to have solutions to all of those so that we can keep the property industry moving, keep clients, doing business, and make sure that as much as possible, everyone's livelihoods can continue using tech. Okay,
so tell me this. I know we've got to be a little bit diplomatic, which is not necessarily my strong point, but I've worked with local authorities and I know they're overstretched, underfunded, under-resourced, and quite often the people you speak to are quite overwhelmed because there's this huge pile of work for them to do. How has the crisis and the lockdown impacted them? Because surely that's had a detrimental effect on things.
Yeah, definitely. And so one of the 6 points that I want to talk about today, which gives us about 5 minutes on each point, I suppose, is engagement with local authorities. Yeah, good math. So we're running a series of events. We used to run a monthly breakfast with the local authority. We're still doing that. So last week we had an event with Jonathan Martin from Waltham Forest, and a lot of these, the COVID crisis for the leader of the council, they're distracted at the moment. They're distracted with COVID. They're not really thinking about planning applications. But that's not to say this isn't a good time to be engaging with the local authority, because the boroughs that I've spoken to, Barking, Dagenham, Waltham Forest, Lambeth, all of them are saying we need to support the construction and property industry by making sure that the planning departments are ring-fenced and aren't taken off to deal with sort of immediate crisis management.
And functioning properly. And presumably tech is the solution, right?
Functioning better than they were before, I would say. Our backlog has gone down. We've got 10, 15 schemes that are in for planning at the moment where we're on the phone to the planner every other day. They're being processed. They're actually getting rid of backlogs that had built up because they were being distracted before by being in an office environment with lots of stuff to do. Now they're just trying to get rid of the backlog.
Great.
Yeah. We've had a couple of consents. We've got a virtual planning committee tonight in Broxbourne for a 21 unit scheme, and we think it's going to go through. Of the local authorities that have run virtual planning committees so far, so planning committees required on any major scheme, so anything over 10 units, for example, most of I think all of the schemes that have been put forward for virtual planning committees have gone through, and that's because I don't think I think the case officers are putting forward cases that they believe will be supported by the committee, so that these virtual committees aren't too fractious. They're kind of, they're kind of putting forward the easier ones, I think. But certainly talking to these boroughs. So tomorrow we've got a focus on Barking and Dagenham, another big regen area. So that's at 2:00 tomorrow with Pat Hayes, who's the MD of Be First, which is Barking and Dagenham's kind of planning arm. And what we're trying to do is for our developer clients, get engagement with local authorities to giving the opportunity for the local authorities to explain how they want developers to engage with them. And at the moment, that's usually with their planning teams. They don't want to distract the leader. So you've got a really big scheme. The biggest scheme that we're working on is one where the leader will be made aware of it in due course, but now is not that time.
Right.
So now it's dealing with the technical officers, with the planners, and ironing out as much as possible so that when it's the time to engage with the leader, the crisis is further along. Okay,
so are lots of architects now using VR and augmented reality to get their planning applications, to expedite the process?
So I think that short answer, no, we are. I think most people are using Zoom, and, most planning applications are traditionally, they're 2D, you don't tend to, even the CGIs that you present are two-dimensional. So, put your pack together in a PDF and you upload it onto the portal. None of that's changed. I think the bit that has changed is that we're now doing pre-applications with planners where we're using Zoom, we're spinning them around our 3D model, and we're really allowing them to understand the building better because we're using 3D models.
It's about time that everything just moved on from 2D, right? Because just explain to the people who might be listening what the problem is with 2D exactly.
Well, I think, you never experience a building in two dimensions. And so from the outset of our company, we've used VR. We're the first company to ever use it in a pre-application situation in Lambeth, Redbridge and Croydon. And it really kind of, it gave us a huge advantage when we were talking to the planners. So we bring along our headset. So I've got one here. And,
very good.
We plugged them in and put the headset on. This is in the days before COVID. And we would allow them to walk around our model and they experience it from the human perspective. And as a designer, I want to make sure that the human perspective of any urban environment that we create is as awesome as it can be.
But it's just like how can you get a feeling for a building if you can't see it in 3D in situ? If you're building up a slope or down a slope, or there are other buildings around it,
exactly. Yeah. And as a result of using the 3D pre-application, the VR sort of headset. So, an example, we are working with Evan Maindonnell, who's another Qandor member.
Yeah.
Hotel scheme in Lambeth, 150-bed apart hotel. And we've had two pre-applications with Lambeth there where we've used the VR headset with the head of planning, Doug Black, there to really emphasise that the amount of development we're putting on the site is completely appropriate for its context. And he bought that site with a consent. We've managed to get an extra story on top of that consent set back because of the point that we made to Doug, which he agreed with, that was when you're in the headset and you're walking down, looking at the conservation area that we're in, this additional story is not visible at all.
Great.
So that's been powerful. If we'd gone in with a flat 2D elevation, he'd probably gone, red pen, no. But as we were using the VR headset to work with him. And so what's changed now is that we're posting out the headsets to people.
What? And that's what I was going to ask. So what about the logistics? How much are those headsets?
They're 400 quid but it doesn't need a computer. So it's, what all you do is, and within the amount of fees that you'll be paying an architect, the client is not paying for it. We're putting it within our fee. The most amazing thing about them, we can send them out to the client, we can send one out to the planner, the leader of the council when appropriate, when the time comes to engage with people, if we're still not allowed to do face-to-face meetings, the leader of the council might get one in a particular situation. You connect them to the Wi-Fi, and because it's got a radio mic in, we can talk to you. You can see a little avatar of us, and this is what it will look like inside it. But you can hear us, and we can talk you around. You can walk you around the building as a little avatar of us.
What about as a business? Are you claiming R&D tax relief on all this stuff? Research and development tax relief?
Yeah.
You architects love that one, don't you? It's a great one for you guys.
We work with Catax, and we were already
another Qandor member.
Another Qandor member. So we've been working with them for 3 years now, I think. So before we met them before you, before the introduction, and they've been fantastic because we've always, everything we've done has always been about challenging the norms of the industry and trying to come up with solutions that are more efficient, that give more value. We were doing stuff for the first 3 years that Catax looked at and they were like, "You're idiots! You should have been doing this tax relief stuff."
Yeah.
From the start, and so we actually went back and we claimed the first 2 years, and then we've done the 2 years since.
How much do you reckon you've claimed in R&D tax relief to date?
I don't want to say, but a lot.
It's tens of thousands of pounds, right?
A significant amount of money.
I had an £85,000 R&D tax claim when I was running my air hunting business, and I realised a couple of days ago when I was doing an interview with someone else that I think I've got 2 more. It's just money back in your bank account. It's marvellous.
Yeah. And so the most amazing thing is because it was tax that we'd actually already paid for 2 years, and so we were given most of our corporation tax back, which is just very rarely happens that HMRC give you money back. So that was fantastic, and also we plowed that straight back into more innovation, and that's the purpose of it. So when I spoke to Catax about the stuff that we're bringing in just before lockdown, I was like, we're accelerating this innovation process.
Yeah.
Will this all be covered? And they were like, of course. All of those headsets you're buying now to put on your clients' projects, the ones where you're working out the first half a dozen, that's all streamlining the process. That'll all be, tax claimable as tax relief, and that's fantastic for everyone.
Yeah.
It's moving the industry forward. It's making things more efficient, and that's the purpose of
for anyone who's watching, there's a link on Qandor's website for Catax, and there's a form on there. You can submit a form to Catax. I didn't realise we were going to end up talking about Catax, but go onto Qandor's website, find Catax, fill in the form, and one of them will get back to you to see if you've got an R&D claim. I've got 2 pending. I need to speak to Richard, actually. That's great, because then you build up this pot and you can recycle it, and there's compound effects, and your business starts to really take off. Okay, so we've been about 6 or 7 weeks in the lockdown. I've lost count. What have you learned over the last 6 or 7 weeks, Ollie?
So I think what we've learned is the world's got to keep moving, and there's going to be new challenges, and as entrepreneurs, those challenges are kind of exciting and interesting to overcome, and we want to be leading the way within our little silo of the property industry. We want to make sure that there's no challenge that isn't overcomable, and we want to have a solution for all of them. So starting from site acquisition, developers' number one problem is buying the site at the right price. We've got an online tool which we can send a link out to in this podcast or whatever. And you go on that, you can use the tool to basically get a free site capacity from us. It will return to you with a planning note from a planning consultant. It'll have a design by us for the number of units that we think are achievable on the site. And then you can base your purchase price on that, and that's all free. And for us, that's the start of our kind of sales process. And that's even though it's remote, I thought it would be impossible as an architect to kind of win business without meeting the person face to face. But we've been appointed on a 100+ unit scheme in Barking and Dagenham last week on the basis of a Zoom call and a capacity study that was done using that same tool, and that's amazing to see.
Yeah, and I think it's brilliant because it just goes to show everybody what you can achieve when you need to, and what needs to be done. So both Qandor and Tropolis have picked up reasonable numbers of clients, actually, surprising numbers of clients, and we haven't met any of these people. And we're making permanent changes to our business, and I'm sure but they're not permanent changes; they're permanent improvements, right?
Absolutely, and I think that was what I wanted to. I sort of the thing that I wanted to get across today was there have been these challenges, and we've come up with these pieces of innovation to overcome them, and a lot of them will be permanent. They're going to be permanent things that we do differently. About multi-use VR, I mean, we've been talking about that for 5 years. We've now nailed that in a week, by really focusing on it. And that's a change that we're gonna that's staying for sure, because we've got clients all over the country, and there's no better way than viewing a building than by putting a headset on, walking around it, and having your design team in different places in the country all talking to you in the same room in the virtual building that you're designing, and
preferably before you built it.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, how are your sites going where there's construction in progress or construction temporarily tools down?
Yes, we probably had 10, 15 buildings on site when the lockdown happened. Only 2 of them stopped work. Robert Jenrick, the housing secretary, came out very quickly and said there's no need for the construction industry to stop work. So measures had to be put in place. I've done site visits on 3 different sites. We have to be much more careful around risk, but if the construction industry is to keep going, which it is meant to. Then architects' roles still has to keep going as well, and we have to wear more PPE and we have to risk assess more. But the government have been clear. The construction industry is one of the vehicles that will keep the economy moving.
Yeah.
And so now all of our sites are now open this week, which is great. And the supply chain is a real problem. But there's no reason not to start a project. So fellow Qandor members, Phil, Howard, they're starting on site next week. I think with their piling, they've been doing demolition during the lockdown, and that is all. That's all, completely legitimate and supported by the government. That's
their one in West London, is it?
Yes. Yeah,
cool. Yeah. Okay, so it's business as usual on site, really.
Absolutely. It's kind of, builders are used to wearing a lot of PPE. They now have to wear a mask as well. They were already wearing gloves, and a lot of them were wearing masks when they're doing kind of dusty work in any case. So it's not massively, and they've got to obviously have more care over separation distances, but. It is usually as long as the supply chain is up and running. Yeah,
the supply chain is going to be the real piece of the puzzle that's disrupted. Yeah.
Yes, but I think as of Monday, it's going to start unlocking more. So it's already okay. I think Travis is delivering. So as long as people can get their stuff from Travis Perkins.
Okay, so planning is online and virtual and remote, and it seems to work better. Construction is business as usual. What about sales and marketing?
So this is the bit where we've seen, again, like a lot of very rapid innovation. So, we work with estate agents who specialise in selling off plan in any case. So one of the agents I work with the most, Adam Dockley.
I know Adam. He's a good guy.
Yeah, really good guy. And he kind of cut his teeth in Hong Kong selling flats to, Chinese people in London. And so he was like, well, what's the fuss about? We use a load of CGIs, put a nice brochure together. The innovation that we've found more recently is that on Rightmove, a video coming up instead of a photo is getting much more attention. So we're using this amazing software called Unreal Engine. It's basically like the same stuff they use in Hollywood for kind of special effects, to do these amazing CGI videos. And I'm sure we can get one to come up over the top of this interview. But they're kind of hyper real, and so we've got 3D video CGIs. We've got computer game interfaces that we're starting to use as well. So you can, again, I'll do a little demo of us clicking around, but if you've used the Matterport interface where you just kind of click, or like Google, when you're on Google Street View, we've got the same as that, but a CGI of the building. So you can just use your mouse to click around and explore all the corners of the building. And it's basically using kind of a computer game interface.
Where are you getting all this stuff from?
Well, it's just sort of applying stuff that we were already using.
And scaling it up,
and we're now finding out what's the maximum capacity of it. So another amazing project that we've been involved in is for Tala Lights. So Tala are a really cool hipster brand. They do these massive light bulbs. We've got loads in our office, and they were going to go to Milan to do an expo, spend 50 grand on exhibition. Instead, we built them a kind of virtual exhibition room that can be accessed with again, it's like a desktop computer game. And you walk around, you can turn the lights on and off. You can fade them up and down. And so we're exhibiting their lights in this amazing kind of virtual environment. And that'll be fully interactive. And again, it's stuff that we kind of knew how to do, but why would we have bothered before? You just go to Milan. Now you can't. So that's been really fun. And so the last thing is that we're actually, on the VR side, we're using that for the marketing as well. So we can create 3D, we can send these little Google Cardboards, they're called. So we've got AR branded ones that's got a QR code on. So we can post this out to people. If they look at the brochure online and they go, that's great, I really want to, be part of this, I want to buy a flat in this development, we can send them out one of these. You put your phone over the QR code and it will turn your phone into a VR headset and you can actually look around the development in that. So that's quite fun. And it's something, again, we were talking about for ages, and now we've had to do it. Again, we developed it in sort of 2 weeks of lockdown.
Well, you covered a hell of a lot. Is there anything else you want to chuck into the interview?
Planning public consultations as well. I think that's part of the planning process. But
what's going on with that?
Online consultation events. Did one again with Evan on the hotel, and it was actually very positive, very successful. Lots of engagement. Again, I would say, going back to the old days of standing in a village hall and getting shouted at by people that don't like your development, I would much rather have people. There was people that had legitimate questions about the development, and there were people that were genuinely supportive of the development, and that's, you know, that's a vast improvement on the drafty village hall and basically all the people that don't like it turning up.
Do you know what?
So I think both in the future would be taken forwards.
I think when you're up against it and your back's against the wall, you're forced to make changes and be a bit radical. But I was saying this to someone just this morning. I said, all feedback is enormously valuable. There's no criticism in any feedback. In fact, the more you don't like what you're hearing, the more valuable that feedback is. So embrace it and
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I think we took away from the public consultation that we did some, you know, we made changes to the design instantly because we thought they were totally valid from people that were, you know, lived in the area and thought it could be done in a different way. Making more of the building open to the public was something that we thought, well, let's work out if we can do that. And I think the design improved as a result of that.
Yeah. Well, I think there's one resounding message I'm getting from this interview is that we might be locked down and we might be distancing ourselves physically, but we're more connected than ever before. And I think it's a big inflection point in the growth curve for many businesses, certainly for both my businesses that I'm running at the moment. I've got a third one that I'm going to bring back to the table, and it sounds like you're making great progress as well. We're kind of running out of time, but if there's anything else you want to drop into the interview, then go ahead.
No, just if you've got sites that you want to start the development process on, or you want to make sure you're buying at the right price, start with the site analysis tool that we've got, and we'll send you a pre-capacity study, and that kind of enters you into our world and the way that we work. And hopefully, you'll realise that we can deliver value for you through the property cycle, the cycle of one development to the next, making sure that you maximise your value every time, so that margin between what you could get and your kind of your optimum upper level of return is maximised, because that's the thing that is going to build as you cycle it again and again.
There's no prize for getting like 80% of it right in this business. You're only in the scoring zone if you're above 90, and you're only really a winner if you're above 95. It's the marginal gains. You've got to keep adding them all up. And
marginal gains, that's exactly. I wrote that article, I think, for your magazine. It was exactly that.
Was that what you thought? Okay.
Marginal gains. It is. It's the same as Olympic sport.
Yeah.
The key margins where as a developer, and Evan's always on about this. It's like you've got to buy at the right price, and then you've got to maximise your planning gain, because there's really the construction, you can either get it kind of right, or construction's a ball ache, and it's tough to get anything to be built on time and on budget. If you manage to get it built on time and on budget, that's pretty much the best you can do.
Yeah.
In planning, it's totally different. In planning, if you're clever about planning, you can get. It might take you longer, but you can get a much better result. And so, understanding the planning process, planners are the gatekeepers of value, and you have to inspire them.
Yeah.
You have to take them on a journey to prove that they can trust you.
Yeah.
That they can trust you to deliver a high quality thing that will give something back. And so, it's not just about using technology with the planning process. It's about inspiring those planners with good design, and that's what we try to do on every project. Yeah,
well, I think Evan's apart hotel is a perfect example, because he bought that site with planning permission, and then you guys have gone back to the drawing board, improved it, and it wasn't through a weak agent. I think he bought that through a decent agent, and the vendor was marketing it properly, but he just saw that the planning was weak.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would have looked at that site and thought, yes, you can optimize it a bit. But I think he's, gone back to the drawing board, really restarted the planning process. And I think, we're submitting it in about 2 weeks. So we'll find out in a few months. Yeah,
we don't want to jinx it or anything. Fingers crossed, touch wood. All right, we've totally run out of time, Ollie, but I just want to say thanks for joining us, and thanks for sharing your insights with us. Fascinated to see the progress you're making, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks very much for having us, and I hope people enjoy it when they watch it. Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, Ollie.